getting young people to the polls ahead of the Nova Scotia election.
If you want to really have a say in how your community works and how it's run, then you should be voting.
Local shops are scrambling during the postal strike.
Normally we ship Canada Post, so we've had to make different arrangements.
And all that glitters is gold for workers at this Halifax cafe.
I think it's incredibly important to have a space where you are validated.
This is The Signal. Hello, and welcome to our first show of the semester. Our top story is the provincial election, happening on November 26th. The Signal's Ariel Mackenzie went down to Dalhousie University, where students and two local candidates talked about the importance of the youth vote.
The Signal is here at Dalhousie University in Halifax, where students and candidates are trying to get young people to vote.
If you want to really have a say in how your community works and how it's run, then you should be voting.
But in the last election, it seems over half of young people in Nova Scotia did not vote. Elections Nova Scotia says fewer than 4 in 10 eligible voters between 18 and 24 cast ballots in 2021. Students from other provinces can vote in this election, provided they have lived here for 6 months or more.
Young people we spoke to had mixed views about voting.
I find a lot of young people, especially myself nowadays, go to the polls and you see these options and it's all either reactionary politicians who as a transgender person are coming after my rights, or they're reformists who don't really do anything to protect those rights effectively.
People need to be voting provincially and federally when they're able to. And as a woman, voting is a really important right that I have, and so I think it's of a high value.
This is my first time voting, so I'm very excited, and it's been very helpful to see some organizations working on educating the youth about voting.
Candidates from the Nova Scotia NDP were at Dal trying to get students to vote.
Just because of all the issues we're facing that are so important for folks in terms of, increases in rent and other, affordability challenges.
Liberal candidate Gerard Bray stopped by Dal later in the week, talking about the future for young people.
Next Tuesday will be the start of setting this tone for when they're more involved and ready to take over and empower themselves.
The PC platform also focused on creating more housing. The PCs did not grant an interview to The Signal. No matter your riding or preferred party, you can vote at advanced polling stations like this one at St. Mary's University. For The Signal, this is Ariel Mackenzie, Halifax.
After a year of talks, more than 55,000 Canada Post workers went on strike, including here in Halifax. The walkout is forcing businesses to find other ways to move their merchandise.
Members of CUPW Nova Local were outside the Almond Street Sorting Center. The union says it's concerned about issues including pay, benefits, and job security. Dwayne Corner has been delivering the mail for 35 years. He's also the local union leader.
What the corporation has proposed will affect the future workers, affect their pensions and their benefits, and has basically gotten their benefits and pension. And we can't have that.
I prefer to ship Canada Post.
Mimi Faulty owns The Loop, a local craft store in Halifax. She's been forced to rely on couriers and online shipping services to send knit goods to customers. She says the strike means less security when shipping some of her one-of-a-kind products.
Canada Post will not leave a package on someone's doorstep where someone else can grab it, or it can go missing, or it can get rained on, or whatever. And I like that idea that it goes somewhere safe, or it goes into a mailbox. And that is unique to Canada Post.
The CUPW and Canada Post returned to the table with mediated negotiations this past Monday. The goal for the union is a 24% pay increase over 4 years, as opposed to the 11.5% increase proposed by Canada Post.
To tell Canada Post to actually start negotiating. And it's unfortunate we're here. We want to continue working and we want to continue delivering the mail.
Canada Post has said that the strike would, quote, deepen the company's already serious financial situation. The Crown Corporation is also warning customers to expect delivery delays.
Now, we introduce you to an art student whose work tells a personal story. His ceramic pieces focus on symbols from his home in Ghana, West Africa. Ariel Mackenzie went down to his studio to see how he creates his work.
Kwame Broby goes to his studio at the Halifax waterfront every day. He sits down at his pottery wheel and throws the clay. The sound of his hands make a rhythmic beat. It begins as a lump of clay, and through his hands it turns into a vase. He also makes larger, intricate pieces.
For some of them that I'm working on currently is what I call the family cup.
Broby's family cup incorporates Ghanaian symbols of family culture from the past and present. He carved symbols on the cup that represent family bonds and living in harmony with others. Broby says it's important that his pieces tell a story.
Most of the things that I deal with are more symbolic. They have like meanings to them, and I try to draw inspiration or try to link them to kind of a creative story that works around my mode of work.
Broby has also formed a community here in this workspace.
I come from like a Jamaican Chinese background and Canadian as well, and so being able to talk about that kind of disconnect of being mixed race helps, and having Kwame there has been motivational.
Sang says Broby's work using symbols to tell stories is artistically advanced. They've chosen each other as family here in Halifax, far from home. But the federal government has put a cap on the number of international students coming to Canada. Broby is not sure if he'll be able to stay in Canada after he graduates.
Most of the things that are like immigration-wise are not in my control. So I have to now adjust to the new rules to be able to stay here.
One thing he can control is his master's thesis exhibit. These dolls went on display at the Anna Leon Owens Gallery in Halifax. For The Signal, this is Ariel Mackenzie.
And finally, the Glitter Bean Cafe is not your typical coffee shop. It is worker-owned model is billed as a safe space. I paid them a visit down on Spring Garden Road.
Down on Spring Garden Road, this cafe is trying to add a little sparkle to your average cup of joe. Glitterbean is a queer-owned workers' co-op that opened in 2018. It's a popular study spot with a very different business structure.
We operate on like a flat system instead of a hierarchical one, so there isn't like a shift manager and a supervisor and a manager and, all these people pulling the strings. Everything is decided by the people who work on the floor day in, day out.
The co-op system allows them to express themselves. There's no dress code or rules around gender identity. They say it gives a sense of freedom.
I know as somebody who has been to other spaces, worked in other spaces, that it can just be heartbreaking to not be seen as how you want to be seen. So I think it's incredibly important to have a space where you are validated and where, you can feel like yourself.
Yeah. We're one of 3 queer worker-owned co-ops in Canada. This is an incredibly rare place, and because we've been around so long, we're very fortunate to have been around so long, I feel like a lot of people don't realize what a special thing they have right in their backyard.
Glitterbean Cafe is also home to other small businesses, including a thrift store called Zealous. People who work here hope to inspire others to do business with a heart.
Thanks for watching The Signal at the University of King's College School of Journalism. I'm Alexandra Bose. For more news stories from King's, follow The Signal on YouTube or go to signalhfx.ca. We'll see you next time.